On today's Back to Paranormal podcast, we're going to be talking about orbs.
Are they spiritual entities? Are they erstwhile insects? Are they dust particles or angels?
Well, we're going to be talking about all that and more on today's Back to Paranormal podcast. Well, welcome, and welcome back to Paranormal with myself, Brian Mitchell, and my beautiful co-host,
Marjorie. Hello.
Marjorie. Hi.
Hi, handsome.
You are pretty.
That's because I'm looking at you.
I love you.
I love you.
Anyway, we normally open up these shows with a little toast, right? And we're going to be doing a show about orbs, and so you picked out the drink for tonight.
I did.
And you know something? This is a... Should we just come clean with this one?
Okay, no, here's the deal.
Okay.
This is a German beer called Winterstern, and it is 99 cents.
It's a 99-cent beer.
99.
It's not a malt liquor. It's a lager. It's a lager beer, and this is available in Long Island, New York. I don't know if it's available anywhere else.
I have never seen it.
Yeah.
I know you're just a few years older, my senior.
Just a few.
Did you ever have a 99-cent beer?
Ever?
No, but before this Winterstern business.
Years ago, when beer was cheaper.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You get a nice 24-ounce big can of something like a Labatt's or whatever for 99 cents. But it was a great buy. But hey.
Okay. But my point is...
Yes, what is the point?
Don't dismiss something just because it looks like it might be nothing. These light anomalies that are most commonly known as orbs that keep showing up on Ring cameras and cell phone photographs and iPhone photographs and flash camera photographs and home videos, nanny cams, etc.
Yes. Sometimes
they're just dust. Sometimes they are gnats.
And sometimes it's Winterstern.
Sometimes you need to have your house treated for termites big time.
There you go. But no, this is...
But sometimes they're more than what they seem to be. And that's what we're here to look at. So don't just walk down the aisle when you see this 99-cent can of beer.
Well, depending on where you are in the United States or around the world. So anyway, we should probably toast. Let's boop. Let's boop to today's show about orbs. And here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Boop.
Boop. There you go.
We're going to orb it up.
2. Here we go. This is actually... There you go. Oh. Oh. That was such a dull sounding pop of a can. We're drinking out of a can.
We're drinking out of the can.
Wow.
Hey, something from something. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah. We don't want to pay music royalties here. Okay, so we're going to take a sip. Here we go now. 1, 2, 3. Here. Has a little bitterness to it.
It does have a little bitterness to it.
It's not too sweet. It's well, I don't think beer is sweet anyway, but it has a little sweetness to it.
No, sometimes beer is too sweet for Marjorie.
But this has a bitterness to it, and I feel like we're doing a beer commercial. But anyway, let's get into the subject matter. So we're talking about orbs, and have you ever shot pictures with and had them developed or take a video and find orbs?
Yeah, so definitely photography is not my forte until I started using the iPhone. And my iPhone takes... I always thought it took terrible pictures, but when I was, coming up, we had these cardboard disposable cameras that were disposable, and you had X number of shots, and
right, you just hand them the camera.
Yeah, and we would just take it out.
I can imagine how good the lenses were, but yeah.
I think, I'm very camera shy myself, so I would not want to make anyone else suffer so I kind of have stayed away from, I have never had a I've never taken a picture where there was this kind of light anomaly, if that's what you're asking.
That's what I was asking. I have.
Yes.
And there's been pictures over the years I never really thought anything about, where there might be like an orb in them. And I really have to kind of go through them. But there was one year I had to go up in an attic and I had to take some pictures. And I had it was an iPhone, so it was an Apple phone. And so I started snapping pictures. And I had taken pictures in attics before. They're far more dusty than this attic. But I happened to start taking pictures. And as I was taking the picture, and if you had an iPhone, it kind of like, it almost like it moves. It has a little movement
feature.
before it actually. So viewing those photos, I would see like an orb, like either coming up or racing through or maybe stopping and then changing direction before it actually showed the picture. And I just thought that was really bizarre. And I would peer out. I had a flashlight or whatever, and I would look, and there was no dust. And there was no insects. But when I would take the pictures, all of a sudden I would get these orbs. Mm-hmm. And the amazing thing about it to me is like, look, you walk around, we walk around the apartment or we walk around in stores, whatever. I've never seen orbs at all with naked eye. Mm-hmm. And I've heard people say, "Oh yeah, no, I've seen them." Mm-hmm. The most I've ever seen is like not an orb, but maybe like a sparkly thing, maybe in the corner of the room, which was kind of odd because it wasn't a reflection of anything. It was just all of a sudden it just appeared, but not an actual orb. But it seems like with these flash cameras, they're capturing stuff.
Yeah.
And, and this is stuff that you don't see with the naked eye. And I know there are people that dispel this stuff and they say, well, it's probably dust or it's, you got a fly going through the room or whatever.
And very often that may very well be the case.
It could be the case because, if something comes up to the camera lens, it's probably not going to be in focus. But the thing is that some of these things look like perfectly round, like
when they have like, I know that this was probably the wrong term, but when they actually have their own bioluminescence, when it seems as though the light is not a reflective light, but a light that's being generated from within that
orb
anomaly that's in that space.
Yeah.
Like, I guess bioluminescence is more, attributable to like jellyfish and, octopi and things like that. But and when you really zero in on the ones that look like that have that surface tension of an orb, which would indicate a high degree of energy.
Right.
And when you look at the photographs, they go way in. It's almost as though there are shapes happening within that shape. Right. And that's very, very different from a little moth or a mosquito or whatever, or even dust. The dust cloud going through the light can be very beautiful and sparkly but it's so super fine. And then there are these videos and photographs that you have that, right? But then you also have this one real standout entity that has its own shape and its own energy,
its own brilliance.
Thank you.
Yeah,
and struggling here with
no, it's okay. They have different colors too. Because sometimes the typical one is like you'll see one and it's not that bright, but then all of a sudden you'll see one that's basically, it actually looks pretty sizable. It doesn't look like it's up close to the camera. You know that when it's close, but you'll see it's kind of set back and it's its own form. Yeah. And it could either be white or it can be purple or blue.
Yeah. We've seen the blue ones. I've seen photographs of the purple ones, the white, the yellowish, the tinged white. Right. For me, I actually have horrible eyesight. I mean, when your own ophthalmologist is like making fun of you from the age of 9, like you're the laughing stock of the eye doctor office. And but my peripheral vision is
Right.
my peripheral vision is 20/20.
Wow.
So that's why I don't like wearing glasses, because I
Kind of lose that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And when I get, and this is strange, and I'm not going to, maybe I shouldn't because we're talking about orbs, but
Go for it.
when
Go for
I
it.
get, thank you, when I get that feeling,
Yes.
you know, where I feel that something is around,
Yeah.
I'll get like, I know that that was actually a visual with a sound effect. I get this.
Just for that, the visual for this podcast. What she's
what
saying
was
is that she sees something out of
In
the
the
corner of her eyes
corners,
that
I
just
get-
kind of
Yeah,
goes through.
that.
So the thing is that means speed, everybody.
It's like an energetic light flash.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I'll turn over my shoulder or
look
what
at it.
have you. And I just have that sense of knowing. Thank you for indulging my
That
little
sense of knowing.
my little sound effect. there.
Yeah.
That's
No.
the light shooting.
It's the light shooting by. Yeah. I think that's a thing, because sometimes I'll catch something out of the corner of my eye and then I'll look, and sometimes it will be there, you know, and it'll be some anomaly, and then it will kind of disappear. But
But in looking into this, we did watch. We looked at a lot of photographs. There was a particular psychic medium and Reiki specialist from New Jersey.
yes, we
named
won't
Wen-
give her name,
No.
but yeah.
And
Because maybe we'll have her on the show.
I would love to have her on the show.
Yeah, all right, we'll reach out.
She seems really and she's going through a lot of her photographs, and when she gets the feeling of the energy, she knows where to point her camera. And her camera, she said she uses her iPhone. She said she uses a cell phone, older cell phones, just to generate some of these images. And then she'll also use a digital camera.
Sure.
And she knows where to put the lens and take the picture.
Right.
And it will inevitably produce this kind of orb effect. And I thought that was very interesting.
I thought it was very interesting, and she took a picture. I guess she had a cat, and then she captured an orb, and when she actually kind of blew that up a little bit, the orb almost looked like the face of a cat in the orb, which was not next to the cat, so it wasn't a reflection or anything.
Of the cat.
Nothing like that. But it was fascinating, because the way she put it was that, yeah, cats have guardian angels too, you know, and they have spirits looking out for them. And I believe that. I believe that we have guardian angels.
Well, a lot of people who've seen these orbs say, I saw a face, or I saw a figure,
Right.
or I saw shapes within
Within the orb, yeah.
within the orb.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting, right?
And that this concept of the orb being almost like a capsule of whatever that consciousness, that energy,
That soul.
that within.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah, like I said, I've captured some on a digital camera, and I wish I could say, you know, what it was years ago, because I don't remember what the pictures were, but I remember there would be like little orbs, like maybe in specific pictures. And so there are people out there that they just basically, they kind of blow this all off and they say, no, it's just dust particles. But, you know, the thing is that dust particles kind of float, you know. And when you look at these things, some of these videos of people capturing orbs,
They're really scooting around.
they're basically, they're going through, it's like just one, and it's kind of coming down, and then it stops, and then it goes in totally opposite direction. And almost like it made a decision to just fly off somewhere else. And to me, dust doesn't do that. I don't think dust does that, unless there is some, fan going off where it's kind of
Interference.
floating, and then all of a sudden they turn on a fan from out of frame, and then all of a sudden this thing. But if that's the case, wouldn't you see a lot of these things go through rather than
I
one?
think that depends on the atmosphere within the room. Like, is there a draft? Is there cross ventilation?
Right.
Maybe they do have maybe a little bit of a bug problem.
Right.
And I think that very often, yes, I think one can dismiss it as dust or, the interference of other aerial things and lint flying through the air, which happens.
Right.
But I think when it looks this certain way where it's under a tension
Yeah.
and a sphere is created by a specific degree of tension
Right. We
and generating its own luminescence, I
Yes.
think that is when it's worthwhile looking into. And there are psychic media who say these are angels, and ones who say they are loved ones, or they're even friends who were there but from far away.
Right.
And we did see this. We saw a pair of videos, a suite of videos, where these two family members lost the same grandmother. They shared a grandmother.
Right.
And both of their Ring camera, they live 300 miles apart. And at the same exact time of night,
Yes.
both of their Ring camera went off and had a motion alert. And the same color orb was lingering in front of their respective front doors and caught on Ring camera.
Now, people might say something like, "How is that possible then? How could a spirit be visiting one person and then another person at the same time? So would that be two different spirits?" But the way I understand it, with the spirit realm, and this is information gleaned from all the stuff that I've kind of like looked into, is that spirits can be in multiple places at multiple times.
Yes, just reference part 2 of our episode with psychic medium Jennifer Ann, and she will explain this to you.
Well, you had something like that. We've talked about it on the podcast where you said something, and you believe that a spirit of a loved one was with you, and you said to them on the telephone, "But they're with you." And all of a sudden, something happened
in that person's home.
And we've talked about this on another podcast, but they weren't across the street. They weren't across the hall.
No, they were like 100 miles.
100 miles away. So that kind of bears some evidence toward that, and or maybe I don't want to say proof, but at least some believability or some.
And at the time that I spoke those words to him on the phone,
right.
At that time, I literally thought, Marjorie, you're losing your mind. You literally have lost it.
Yeah.
And I said it because
it
was how I really felt inside.
Yeah, there was something
and
coming out.
And then the next day when he called me back and confirmed that something happened to him that confirmed what I had said was true.
You know what I think? I think, and this, I say all the time, I'm not a psychic medium. I consider myself sensitive to this, so I think you are too.
You are.
Yes.
Yeah.
And but the thing is that you've said stuff to a friend like that where you didn't even know where it was coming from, and I had something like that happen a couple of times where I'm telling somebody something, and it's almost like it's not really coming from me. It's coming from somebody else telling me this, and then me relaying it. And people would get spooked because they'd be like, "Oh, okay." And, they would kind of like, leave. And then they would tell me later on, or somebody else would tell me that you
spooked me out.
You spooked me out because you sounded like my mother, or you sounded like my late father.
Nice going, Brian.
Yeah.
Traipsing around,
just
spooking everybody left, right, and center.
Yeah. But sometimes these things come from places you don't even know.
Yeah.
And it's a wild and wonderful thing. And I've had plenty of those incidents, not necessarily related to orbs, but just kind of backing you up on that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think we all do actually, but some
It's
people.
funny. I was talking to a really, really dear friend of mine today, and she's going through some medical things right now, and I am very private myself, so I don't want to intrude and say, how did this go? How are you? How are you feeling? You know,
Right.
I'll let her come to me. But today I really, really, really wanted to know how she was feeling because you know, I love her and I'm scared and I'm nervous, and I was kind of hanging out, holding the phone, thinking, do I do it? Do I call her? I don't want to bug her. I want to just, you know, give her privacy. And then, boom, she called me, which she never does.
Wow.
For every 5 phone calls I give this friend, I maybe get one in return.
When was the last time you talked to her?
We spoke verbally like 10 days ago.
10 days ago.
Yeah.
But you're all of a sudden you start thinking about her and you think
I
about
really,
calling her.
really wanted to call her, and
Right.
then I said to myself, just leave her be, she'll come to you. Boom, she called me.
Right.
And we started speaking about, and that's, it doesn't have anything to do with orbs. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
listeners, but it was this connection of consciousness that I believe that you and I have, and
Right.
and things like that.
Yeah.
And I was so grateful to hear from her, and she started speaking about how she resolved things with the man to whom she's married now, and that I was there and he suddenly showed up and she wanted to run away, and I grabbed her and I said, no, you're not running away.
Right.
That you cannot run away. You have to resolve this. And
Right.
and she's like, every time we have our anniversary, I thank you, because I told her I don't believe in coincidences. And so she said, and I said he was sent there to be with you.
Yeah.
And she was like, you really think that? I was like, of all the places in all of Manhattan, of all the bars, of all Casablanca.
Right.
And so then she was saying, gosh, you know, I really, really wish my grandmother could have known him. And I said, it was like, she does know him.
Yeah.
She is around you all the time. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
And she may very well have been the one who sent him to you.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
her energy and her love
Right.
from that next place is so great, and it's so all encompassing that how can you ignore the power that she might have to
Right.
have done such an act of mercy to send him back to you.
Right. Interesting.
Yes, and they've been married ever since.
There you go. You're
Yeah.
to blame.
I'm to blame.
Well,
You know, you kind of think about moments like that, like those moments where there was a, quote, coincidence or that kismet. And you think about these orbs, and you're thinking about, like, whether it be a divine intervention or the intervention of an angel entity who's guardian, who's watching over you, or a spirit who's there to guide you. And you kind of think, gosh, I wish I had one of those cameras all the time, because when those moments happen, I want to start taking these pictures and
'cause
see
you
if
wanna-
they're floating around.
yeah, see if they are. We looked at some videos with pets.
Yes.
Pets and orbs, and there was one, I believe, with a Great Dane. This was on YouTube, and basically the dog is alert. There's nobody around. It's basically like, I don't know if it was a Ring camera that they mounted inside.
It's like a
or,
nanny cam.
Yeah, nanny cam. But
Or
anyway,
when you're away and you want to check in on your puppy and see how.
yeah. So anyway, the dog would like kind of come forward, and then he would stop and just stop. I mean, just like, you know, it wouldn't do anything. It would stop, and then it was kind of alert. And then you would see like an orb go by, and then the dog would turn its head.
And go and follow it.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden the dog is moving, and everywhere the dog kind of moved, there was like an orb. And It was pretty wild. But every time the orb came in, it was like the dog moved. And it was just a bizarre.
It really was. It was
Yeah.
almost like the dog was playing a catch with this.
Yeah, but I think,
Orb.
yeah, and there was something else with cats, which,
Oh, that one was very strange.
and that one was very strange because what happened was the cats were very alert and there were orbs flying around, and there was one that was actually on its hind legs, just sitting, very alert,
standing up.
They had another cat, and the cat walked through the door, and or through the door opening, I should say, and was sitting there, and then all of a sudden the door started to close. And that's not, there was no orb there, but all of a sudden the door started to close. But these cats were reacting to something, and it looked like it was reacting to the orbs that were kind of flying around the room.
The orbs
Yeah.
were more around the cat who was standing straight up.
Straight up, yeah.
But then the one who walked in through, there was a second cat that walked in through the door.
Yeah.
The door opened a little bit, and you could see the shadow of, it almost looked like someone walking
That's
by.
right. I forgot about that. There was a
shadow going across the
and then the door,
across
and then the
wall.
door closing.
And then the door closed.
And the
These
people
poor
were,
cats.
yeah, the people were away. So the thing is that
checking in.
with cats, if you have the litter box, and so if a lot of people don't know about cats, you have a litter box, maybe.
I don't know about cats.
Well, I'm telling you about cats. So you can actually have an automatic feeder. Like you put food out, and then when that kind of like starts to disappear, they start eating it, then basically it kind of refills. And there's a water thing that's just constant. But the thing is that if they're going into a room and the door shuts, are they going to be able to get back out of the room to have food and go to the litter box and stuff like that?
Now you made me nervous.
Yeah, well, I think they came back the next day. I think so. I'm sure the kitty cats were okay, but it was just, but it was a very strange video, and I just thought, for me that offers some evidence that because these animals are reacting to the energy, so.
So when you saw this area where there was this sparkly light thing going on up in the corner of the ceiling.
Yes.
You've told me in the past that your dog would sit and stare.
And
Is that
stare
the
at
same?
it. Yeah, without the sparkliness there. It would just sit and stare.
Interesting.
And I wonder if I took some photos, if I'd been, astute, is the word right, astute? Or,
Had the wherewithal to take some
yeah,
photos.
if I took the pictures, I wonder if I would have caught something.
But not a
but
lot of people are like ready to take pictures at any given moment.
I'm going to say this was about 15, maybe anywhere between 12 and 14, 15 years ago. So I wasn't really, I was amazed by some of the stuff that had happened in my life or whatever, but, if that was me now, I'd probably reach for a camera and just start taking pictures.
Right, exactly.
But back then, I wasn't really tuned into that
Yeah.
as much.
That's what I'm saying is
yeah.
like when you have these remarkable moments of, wow, something's really going on. I'm really feeling an energy, or this is a moment where it's too good to be true, or whatever it is.
Right.
And you start snapping pictures. You kind of wonder what you would come up what you would come up with.
Yeah.
There were some videos that we saw of people who were in hospitals and who were very close on the proximity of expiring, and
Well, everybody's heard these stories, where
the orbs were coming up, and some were blue, and
different colors.
that is not a dust particle, a bright blue orb just coming up around.
No, just coming up and then or rising up from somebody's body, which there were a couple of instances like that where we saw stuff like that. To me, there's been videos of people, they've taken pictures of showing what dust is, and taking like a mat or something that has dust, and they kind of just shake it around, and then you see this flurry of dust particles come through, but it is a flurry. It's not there's nothing really defined. with the orbs, they seem to be really defined, and they seem to have an intelligence. So they're not just, flying by on an even pace. They change direction, and they also change speed
and intensity.
Yes, so it seems to be
intention.
Yes, it's intentional. Yeah, like it has some sort of mind. Like, oh, it should go this way, and then all of a sudden it goes, bing, and it goes up and out.
Or it goes.
Exactly. Thank you.
That's the sound, guys. That's the official orb whizzing by sound. I don't know.
I thought it was like bing, bing, bing. Nothing like that, we saw some people with basically near the end stages of their life, and people have told these stories of people on their deathbed opening up their eyes and they're seeing people that passed away. It's like all these loved ones. And I wonder if that's kind of what's happening there with these orbs. Could it be the spirits of people? Because it seems to be when people are on their deathbed or close to dying or whatever, all of a sudden these things kind of appear, and they're kind of floating around the room. So,
I'm regretful I wasn't prepared with this question when we interviewed psychic medium Jennifer Ann, and she was describing how at the time when she was just a toddler, like a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, her aunt was passing away,
right,
and was very anxious to move on,
right,
and was pleading with the Mother Mary to take her with her, and she was just this little kid, but she was walking around the house unaware of the suffering happening, but very aware of these other things that were around the room and talking to them.
Right.
And it just became her norm.
Right.
And what I'd really be curious to ask her is, do you remember seeing them in an orb form at any point in time? But
that's interesting.
Get into that because I didn't, I think I was so excited to meet her that I didn't. I got a little stumped, and I didn't have that question.
We'll try to clarify that maybe.
I would like to know.
I'll ask her. I think the way I remember it is she actually saw her grandfather. Her grandfather appeared to her. And she said that she sees people. She's not, they're spirits, but she sees them, almost full body. So I'm sure there's instances where she has seen orbs, but we'll find that out. Mm-hmm. No, I definitely believe, there's a lot of things that the camera will pick up, but like I said before, our place is, it's not dusty, it's very, 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 very clean. And, but, you would imagine that if there was some dust around, like this lone piece of dust in a lit room, that it would be as lit up as what you get on a camera, Mm-hmm. But I don't know. How do you feel?
I feel as though I've let our house get a little dusty.
No. This house, you could eat off the floor.
I had my 50th birthday, and I've been treating it like a birth month.
No, it's great. So, I don't know. So what's the final word on this?
My feeling is I think it's wonderful when you see them and you really know that that's what it is. I also think that there are a lot of times when you have a lot of these ghost shows and they sensationalize things and they make, a mountain out of a molehill.
Not all of them.
Not all of them, but there are some that it's a little bit much. Yeah. And everything is an orb. And everything is a spirit. Everything is a spirit. Yeah. Every twig that goes crack in the woods is Sasquatch.
Right.
And so I think that's not always the case. I think that there's a lot more dust in the world than there are souls.
Yeah, before we...
It is a dusty, dusty world, Kat.
Well, if that's the case, then you'd be walking outside, you'd be seeing orbs like crazy all over the place.
Exactly.
The one thing I do want to point out, we were talking about these people that were on their deathbed or whatever, and you would see the the end of life.
That is when it's amazing. Yeah. When someone is literally expiring, and this orb just goes straight up
from their chest, or straight up from their chest. Rising up ascension. And then pretty incredible.
That's a beautiful thing.
I don't know if we have any answers for everybody.
I'm sorry, we don't have any answers, but I do like talking about it. Hey, look, we don't have answers on Sasquatch either, but I do like talking about it.
Hey, look, if you got a picture of an orb,
we'd love
to see it, and you can post it to our Facebook page. And why don't you do it there? Just go to the Back to Paranormal Facebook page and just post it there, and then we can talk about it a little bit.
I'd love to know any of your thoughts about orbs.
Yeah, especially if you got something that's, you're not sure, you just want to post it on there, and, it'd be great.
One of the to me, the most charming parts of that movie, the animated Cinderella, is when the fairy godmother manifests herself. Mm-hmm. You have Cinderella, who's just in such absolute despair in the pumpkin patch, and she's just heartbroken, the poor thing.
Right.
And these orbs start to swirl.
They start to swirl in,
answering her prayers, answering this sweet girl's prayers.
Right.
And they swirl in, and there you have the fairy godmother, and she disappears in a series of orbs as well.
Right. And Wizard of Oz, a similar thing happens with Glinda the witch, and she comes down in the form of an orb, and then she kind of manifests. And people are probably going to say, no, that didn't happen like that, but that's why I remember it. And 2 times in the movie like that.
Really?
She comes in as like a, you could interpret it as a bubble, but it's round, and it's reflective, and it's basically in kind of otherworldly, and then it kind of comes down, and then she appears, right? Pretty amazing. I know it's a movie. Fictional. I know it's a fictional piece of work, but sometimes these ideas come from elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, you have people who are trying to create a beautiful story, and they're interweaving sort of supernatural
elements
phenomena
into it. Yeah, you've said that before, which is really insightful.
Thank you.
And I think I don't know if the good fairy from Pinocchio manifests like that. I think she just kind of all of a sudden, it's just like all these sparkles kind of radiating out, and then she appears, which is a magical little effect that they used in the movie. But it's also round-like, so anyway. Well, this isn't a movie. This is real life.
Yeah, real life.
And, anyway.
Food for thought.
If you have any opinions, send it to us, or some pictures or whatever, and
Please
post it on the Facebook page, and that would be great. And, I think we're going to wrap it up. So what are we doing next week?
Well, we have a couple interviews lined up with a few people who have some interesting things to say. Okay.
Well, there's a lot of things we want to do, and, people do not want to pick up the phone for some reason. I guess they're spooked by us. I don't know.
I don't know. Are we spooky?
I don't know. No, I don't think so. But you never know. I don't know. But we're working on it. So we definitely have some good stuff happening in the weeks ahead. So please come back for that. We have about 20 episodes in the can right now. And if you haven't listened to 1 or 2 or 3 of them, and you're in the mood, go back and check us out. So I think that's about it.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much for listening. We can't do this without you. We need you to listen, and we'd love to hear from you. And anyway, we've got good stuff coming up in the weeks ahead, so please come back to Back to Paranormal. Good night, everybody.
Good night. God bless.
God bless you.